to talk about right now is our ventilation system for our motor and our alcohol funny car. All funny cars vent the same way, and they all start from the motor and they end up in this containment system here called what everybody calls a puke tank. NHRA mandates a certain cubic foot size puke tank to be ran to meet the requirements for our cars. How this works is that every motor has what we call blow-by, and you end up getting crankcase pressure. You only have so much area inside the motor for gases to expand and oil to slosh around before you start to create pressure. And what happens here is that this system is designed to help equalize out that pressure. Whenever you have a rise in pan pressure, basically on the bottom of the motor, that's which is called crankcase pressure. That's not a good thing. It disturbs the oiling system. It affects a lot of other things inside the motor to help it run properly. So what we do is we have on top of our valve covers, there's a hole in this valve cover, and that hole allows gases to escape out through this tube. And this is just a rubber tube with a clamp on here, or a rubber hose with a clamp, so it's locked on there and that can't come off. And the gases will come out this rubber hose into this top frame rail. And this top frame rail comes all the way up, comes around, it goes into these rubber hoses going inside of this tank. And this tank is baffled in a way to where if there's any oil or fuel that comes through here, it all falls down into a sump down here. And then there's a long tube inside here that the air, oil, and fuel are all separated, and it vents out the bottom here. And if there's anything that's going to come out, it'll end up getting on this tray here. This is kind of a hybrid looking Frankenstein tank that we had made inside of our shop. I got tired of some of the current tanks that were available out there. They weren't working for our engine combination. And so we designed this, and this puke tank actually helped our motor perform a lot better. It cut down on a lot of pan pressure that we had inside the motor. Every run, what we do is when we come back, there's a drain plug at the bottom of this, and it'll drain about 6 ounces worth of a mixture of oil and methanol. Sometimes when you run the motor real rich, you'll have a lot of fuel inside of your oil, and then you'll now develop a lot more crankcase pressure, in turn putting more garbage in here. So that's also another little tuning tool that I use. If I know that I've got a lot of oil in here or fuel, I know we have a problem somewhere because the motor shouldn't do that. So it's just something else that I look at also, not just to meet a spec for NHRA. So it is helpful. You know, when everything's running fine, we have very little garbage that comes through this tank. So when they're getting ready to blow up, you'll see a lot of oil in here. Especially on the nitro motors, you'll have a lot of oil and fuel inside your puke tank, but our motor runs a little different. This puke tank and the amount of oil that comes out of here is just one more piece of information that we use to put a Lexus in a winter circle.